Okay, hello everyone and welcome to another video, and we're not hanging around today, we're getting straight into it. Today is a double training day focused on a deadlift session and a track workout. I'm currently training for a 500 pound deadlift and mile under 5 minutes, and we are about 6 or 7 weeks out depending on exactly when I decide to do it, and this kicked off a new final training block that Johnny is programming for me ahead of game day. So I had 4 sets of 3 at 185 kilos on deadlifts with the aim of moving them speedily, smoothly, and just really feeling my way through the motion, nailing my cues and making every rep as identical as possible. Usual warm up, and then I was straight into my 4 sets of 3. And bonus round today, I had a max rep set to finish for my 5th set, which you will see coming up very shortly. Everything felt pretty solid, and here we are with the AMRAP set where, not much to report. Sped this up a little bit for your viewing pleasure, but ultimately I had a lot of deadlifts at 185 kilos. They felt pretty smooth. I was happy with how everything was, and I've locked it out. There we go. Not much to report. The weights will get heavier over the next couple of weeks, as this was the start of my sort of peak before I taper into the actual event itself. Moving on to my old arch nemesis from days of powerlifting, which is deficit deadlifting. I've not done this movement in a while, so I started at 140 kilos to keep things nice and light. I had RPE 8 as 3 sets of 5 for the brief for today, and all 3 sets moved pretty smoothly, if I'm honest. 140, 150, and 160 kilos, all pretty routine, but could definitely feel the sort of fatigue from a movement that I haven't done in a while. Essentially, focus here is just really drilling my leg drive and doing a lot of deadlift reps at a lighter weight so that I'm just really feeling my way through the movement. Neurologically speaking, my cues are nailed, and I'm ramping things up nicely for a 500 pound deadlift ahead of a mile pretty soon. Moving on to front squats, a shoe change and a knee sleeve up, knee sleeve suit up, knee sleeve edge, I don't know. I put my knee sleeves on, that's the easiest way to say things, and peep the Omnia Performance t-shirt, might I add. I unfortunately had RPE 8 for 3 sets of 12 today, beltless, and most of the work was really coming from trying to stay upright. This was pounding my abdominals, my core, if you will, and on about reps 10, 11 and 12 of each set, I was having kind of a bad time just because, again, not a movement I've done much of recently. Well, that's not fair. I've been doing a fair amount of front squats and safety bar squats, but not for any rep count more than 6s. So 3 sets here, everything moving pretty well, happy with this, but growing increasingly concerned at the volume I was building up in my legs ahead of my session this evening, which leads quite nicely into explaining exactly why I'm doing heavy lower body work and my track work in the same day, and that is because at Omnia Performance we like to consolidate stressors, and by that I mean we like to group intensities into the same training day, so that essentially within the context of a microcycle of a week, we are only recovering from them once, whilst also effectively fatiguing ourselves in the biomechanical movement patterns that come from high intensity lower body work. So high intensity lower body work is grouped into the same day, whether that is lifting or running, and that way we are consolidating those stressors into one day. Then I had 100 jumping lunges for time, which I did in just under 1 minute and 40 seconds, I believe. I think I went 60, 20, 20 or something like that. Can't quite remember, but either way, my legs were lit up and I was very out of breath because my asthma means that I don't breathe all that well indoors. Anyway, lower body session complete. A very, very brief overview of the logic behind it for you. Moving into a flashback. A few weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to be invited down to my Proteins Rebrand event in Manchester. And as you can see here, I'm slinging some dumbbells over my head. I'm holding Kipchoge's marathon pace for time, and I'm taking part in some yoga, which is not something you'll find me doing all that often, but here we are. It was fantastic to hear from some big hitters internally about what the brand is doing, what the rebrand's focusing on, catch up with some friends, meet some new people, take part in some wild fitness challenges as a team, as an individual, see the competitive side come out of some people that you might not expect. Ryan Terry, you'd think he'd keep all of his competitive spirit for the Olympia stage, but no, it spills over into events like these as well, and it was just brilliant to see the direction the brand is going, how I am going to be a part of it, how I can embed that messaging, that narrative, and really contribute to the community even more. And I am very excited to fly the flag for my protein. So if you'd like to save yourself some percentage off, use the code Fergus at checkout to do so, and you can be a part of this phenomenal rebrand.
Okay, 4 minutes to 7 and we are back at the gym now. It's a track. I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is an athletics track, so we're here. And my legs are cooked. I'm gonna be honest, I'm in trouble. And I can normally get away with that, but spikes take a lot more demand from my lower body. So in a second, I'm gonna voice over all of my reps today with the session that I've got coming up to let you know how I get on. And when do we get home? About 1:30-ish, 1:45. So we got home then, full afternoon of work. Actually filmed another video for last week alongside sorting some things for something exciting happening on the 1st of September, all of which will be revealed to you all soon enough. So make sure to hit the subscribe button at this point so you see all of that. I am stalling and could waffle for a long time at this point. So I'm gonna cut myself off, get warmed up, and then I will see you for 4x400 meters at a specific pace, rest 5 minutes, and then 4x400 meters at a specific pace. But in not very long at all, you'll hear me on a voiceover probably complaining about the wind, which might compromise said pace brackets S. 3, 2, 1, and rep 1.
Okay, so the brief for today was 4x400 meters at between 110 and 115 per 400 meters, so just a little bit quicker than 5-minute mile pace to 5-minute mile pace. Rest 5 minutes, and then 4x400 meters at 5-minute mile pace, so 115 per 400, and 60 seconds rest between efforts, which was tough. I went into this session having just recovered from illness, and I was pretty apprehensive throughout the day, especially with the volume of my legs going into this. Windy on one side of the track, unfortunately the side of the track that doesn't really give you much an advantage on the other side either, but I was just really looking forward to opening up my legs, getting used to the spikes as much as I can, and really getting used to the sensation of having fatigue legs going into these efforts. The first 4x400 felt pretty comfortable, and actually I came in at 112, 113, 114 and 114, which is pretty encouraging given how they felt. The last rep of the 4 was tough, I'll admit, but the 60 seconds rest was really what was getting me there. But at the end of the day, this is pretty much bang on the mile pace that I'm looking to achieve, so I shouldn't be complaining. Going into this last rep here, and you can't really tell, but my gait isn't phenomenal in spikes. I'm not picking up my knees and opening myself up as much as you'd expect. I've always had a short stride, high cadence, but that really comes out to play when you put me in a pair of spikes and you see my sort of slightly chunkier than normal frame on a track waddling away. But 5 minutes rest here, and I was pretty gassed, I'll admit. And at this point, because my calves and Achilles have been taking such a beating from being in the spikes, what I've been doing is I've been doing X amount of my training in spikes, and then halfway through the session, or at a certain point in the session where I feel I need to, changing into a pair of shoes with cushioning to basically take some of the stress away from my calves, but allow me to keep adapting from a physiological point of view. So as you can see here, I've done that, going into round number 2, 4x400 meters at 115 per 400 as the aim. Bang on 114 that round, I believe. And what we didn't realize was that rep 6 and 7 weren't filmed because the GoPro had died. We did 2 laps without realizing. So here is a handheld filmed number 8. And here we are, coming to the end of a day of consolidating stressors, whereby there's been a lot of high intensity lower body volume, which we have seen enormous results with over the years for myself and the thousands of athletes that we've worked with at Omnia Performance. And the result of which is this.
Oh, this is reminiscent of 2020 when I was training for the 500 pound squat and sub 5 minute mile. Just every session would pulverize me, and every session had me just asking whether I was even fit, whether I was just an arrogant bastard for even thinking about trying a sub 5 minute mile, whether I'd done the right training, whether I'd eaten enough, whether I'd slept enough, all these things, all this self-doubt just swirling around as I'm lying here gasping for air. It's a totally different type of pain and just systemic brutality. I can think back to all those times in 2020. It's reminiscent of right now, but it's just so hard to have faith that if you stack these on top of each other, you get to the output because it's so tough. I just dread it all day. Oh, I've got a headache, my legs are gone. I was a little bit off pace. The wind did affect me, and for all the people that have commented in the past asking why I don't run anti-clockwise around the track because the wind is only aggressive on that side and doesn't help you on this side, it's because running anti-clockwise around a track in lane 1 is equivalent to going to Gold's Gym in a pair of lifting gloves. It's just not something you do, but nobody really wants to give any reasons as to as to why it's poor form. It just is. So I'd rather suffer and be off pace, but stay oozing etiquette. I was just lying in lane 1 there, wasn't I? I'm sorry, I didn't realise he was there. I'm a terrible person. Please roast me in the comments. Goodbye.